Welcome to my kitchen. Today's recipe will be silken tofu braised together with some minced pork. It is a very common and normal dish that every day we cook it at home, especially for the Cantonese. But today I want to make it slightly different. Normally I will use a slightly harder tofu for this dish to prevent it from breaking during cooking. But today I really like to use the silken soft tofu to do it, and it's a challenge because it's very easily get broken during the process. And fortunately, I find a way to prevent it from breaking easily. So in this video, while I'm making this dish, I would like to share with you some tips that I know. And certainly this will be the Cantonese way of cooking. I'm going to use oyster sauce, soy sauce, something that's very common that you can get it at home anytime. Let's get started. Okay, let's start with the silken tofu. I have taken it out from the plastic wrap and put it onto the plate first. You can actually see there's some water actually seeping out from the internal, and by doing so, the tofu will be slightly firmer when I cook it. Then cut it into smaller pieces. Then heat up a pot of boiling water, about 3 cups of water, and then add about 1.5 teaspoons of salt into it. Give it a stir to dissolve it. And then carefully slide the tofu into it. Bring it to a boil and continue for another 3 minutes. I find that this is a very effective way to firm up the tofu a little so that when we cook it afterwards, it will not break easily. Now the salt water helps not only to flavor the tofu, to give it a base flavor, it also actually helps to draw out some water from the internal of the tofu. In fact, I've tried both ways. The first way is to, just like what I'm doing, boil it for 3 minutes, and the second way is not to boil it but just to sit in the salt water for 15 minutes. And I find that boiling it for 3 minutes is better than soaking it for 15 minutes. 3 minutes up, let me remove the tofu from the water. I transfer the tofu to a plate single layer because it's very hot and I want to let it cool down. And meanwhile, prepare the pork. I have the minced pork or ground pork, get it from the market. If you don't have it, you can mince it yourself. Heat some oil in a pan to stir fry the minced pork. I normally prefer to make it single layer and just leave it to sear it for a while to get more flavor. I do it over medium heat. Now I've done it for about 3 to 4 minutes, it's already done. If you have a big wok or pan, you can just push aside and add the garlic and ginger and continue doing it. But mine is a little small, so I would prefer to remove the pork first and retain whatever oil that is inside. So this is my pork. And now I can add the garlic and ginger and the white section of the green onion. When the garlic and ginger turns aromatic, let's return the pork back to the pan and mix together. Season it with some salt and also some white pepper. Let's prepare the stir-fry sauce. This is oyster sauce. If you don't use oyster sauce, you can always use more light soy sauce. This is the light soy sauce. I'm just make a very simple stir-fry sauce, a very basic Cantonese style stir-fry sauce. I also prefer to add just a little bit of sugar to balance the flavor, not that much, because oyster sauce is slightly sweet too, and a little bit of pepper. Make sure that it's not overpower everything, because remember that I used the salt water to blanch the tofu, and I also have already added some salt to the pork. And add a little bit of water, 2 to 3 tablespoons of water, and mix well. And that's the stir fry sauce, and now we can use it to flavor the tofu. Add the prepared stir fry sauce to the pan. Now return the tofu back to the pan. And make a teaspoon of cornstarch with some water to make a slurry to thicken it. You can use slightly more cornstarch because there's a lot of water content in the tofu. Heat it up and use a push method instead of flipping it to prevent the tofu from breaking. Have to be gentle. Keep it over low heat and then add the cornstarch slurry to thicken it. Continue cooking until the sauce starts to thicken, and then add some sesame oil, some chopped green onions. It's done, and I'll transfer it to the serving plate for my dinner. Now, who said tofu is bland? Tofu is not bland if we make it this way. Now, the tofu is put it into the salt water before even start cooking it together with the pork. It's already absorbed the flavor to the internal. And after that, the pork released the flavor into the sauce, and the sauce flavor absorbed into the tofu. So the tofu is very, very flavorful. And the best part, this is silken tofu, soft tofu. It is soft, it is not hard tofu, and it is still sturdy. It won't break, but it's super smooth when I eat it. And if you want to try this recipe, I've included it in the description below the video, and you try that out and let me know the result. I would really like to hear from you. That's all for today, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.